is being able to master a lot of the universe, and then 3 is being able to master pretty much all the universe. And we're clear at the bottom. We're at 0 still. So but I don't know. I just, it's hard for me to believe that. Yeah, I think they're trying to communicate, but because I've heard a lot of reports and a lot of research I've done where they've talked telepathically, but I don't. But then again, another factor that goes into these. There's not just one species or race or whatever you want to call these
humanoids.
There's
humanoids
or humanoids. There's all kinds of different ones. I've got reports of Nordics, Greys, praying mantis types, reptoid types, and those are just some of the more popular ones. Now, personally, I believe that the Greys are more like a biological robot that's just kind of made like a droid or something. But I don't know. That's just what I've been finding.
Well, I don't know. Well, I am going to probably in about a week send you the book because I'll be done with it by then. And after you read it, it starts making some sense. I mean, it really opened my eyes up from what I read. And having a talk with Whitney off the side, that it really, it makes a logical sense to me. And I really am enchanted with Whitney. Because he's gone through so much.
Oh, he has.
And if it wasn't for Whitney, let's face it, these people wouldn't be coming out of the woodwork talking about they've been abducted or they had implants. He was one of the very first persons to come out on radio and say, I was abducted. I have an implant.
You're absolutely right, because I'm going to tell you, like I say, I've been researching and studying and this stuff, investigating it for a long time, and when his book come out, and I read it cover front to back, like I didn't even put it down. It was just so mind blowing. 300 pages of it. The first book he came out with in Communion, I got in 1988 when it came out, and it really stood the hair on my back because I was living in upstate New York at the time. So I was like, whoa, this stuff was going on not really that far from me. So it really made me think, and it really that book opened my eyes. So I'm definitely looking forward to reading the new book.
Oh yeah, he has a lot of books in between. But I tell you again too, talking just a little bit last night about the Global Superstorm book that Art Bell and Whitney wrote. I tell you, they were off by about 20 years, but that it is now. I don't know if you've ever read that book. But that's one book I recommend people. You can probably find them on eBay. But if you want to know about climate changes, what could happen, that book is going to put a shock on you. And it's happening now. It's like 20 years off. But you know what? How do you judge time? You can't. Right. They just saw the future, and the future is in that book. And it kind of reminds me of that movie. It was made from that book.
Day After Tomorrow.
Yes, I mean certainly, and it can happen so freaking fast. It can happen in a matter of a day, and we could be in a lot of trouble. And you know what? Like you mentioned, a lot of things are disappearing in North Pole, Antarctica, and it's going to affect us.
Well, if you've noticed, every day this week, out of the roughly 9 to 12 different stories that I give nightly, one of them is always something about, something's always coming up new about the Arctic or ice melting or viruses coming up or something from the Arctic, ice melting or, as a result of it anyway. So there's always something popping up every day.
Yeah, and it's getting more and more. That's the scary part. I tried to, find more about that staircase and pillars. I couldn't find anything more than what you sent me. So I don't know. I don't know if that was somebody maybe manipulating an image around and got it uploaded. I have no idea. But if that is a real picture of a staircase and pillars, then we got a problem. Because that even then, the picture shows it as almost all the ice melted off of it because you saw each step.
Yeah, you're right. And I haven't had a chance today to do any follow up with it, but I'm definitely going to try to see what I can find by Monday anyway. Hopefully something new will turn up. But you could see the details in it. So yeah,
that's the scary part. And that is really, really, if that turns out to be a staircase, I don't know what else it could be other than a freak of nature, but it shows stairs. And I don't think that was faked out unless, again, somebody managed to hack into something and load an image. But again, if that is true, then we got a serious problem on our hand, because it tells me that everything I learned, like I said before, in school, you throw it out the window because it's not accurate at all. How did men evolve? Throw that out the window, because I hate to say it, but the Bible says it's going to throw that out the window too.
Well, that staircase picture, what it kind of reminds me of, the first thing I thought of was the kind of like the step pyramids in Central America. You know how they get the steep steps coming up. They kind of remind me of that, of what that would look like under the snow and ice as it's melting. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Not saying that's what it is, but there's been reports of pyramids in the Arctic for last year. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But besides that, that's what that kind of reminded me of when I seen the picture. But I don't know. I guess time will tell.
Well, we'll find out. That's the interesting part. And it won't be maybe much, more before we find out.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't find out like an all real quick where we see the whole pyramid one day where it wasn't there. That means a lot of ice melt.
Oh, yeah. So Calvin Parker is just waiting by his phone to come on. I just had to send a message. We're looking at 15 minutes. So, yeah, it's going to be a good show tonight. I want to find out more about his abduction. I want to dig into it. I need your help tonight a little bit.
Yeah, because I've got some questions for sure. Because it's funny when he was on my show, when I had a little show on the network there, and asked him if he ever been abducted before, and he said yeah, and I think that's what his second book kind of touches on. I think that was before his second book even come out. So I'm kind of thinking, and there's been patterns. I just know in all my research there's usually not a one of when they abduct you. There's been usually several, down throughout your lifetime. So I'm wondering if there's more that he hasn't remembered, or maybe there's some that he's still learning about through regression, and there's a lot more there we haven't heard about either.
Well, the more you talk about it, okay, and think about it, more chances are you're going to start remembering a little bit more each time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I definitely think he's remembered a lot more through the regression, because he didn't even think the first time that they was able to hypnotize him, and that information sat for years, and here they did. He had a whole transcript of stuff he had remembered. He didn't even think he was hypnotized. So that tells you right there that there's probably more stuff that he can remember or will remember or has remembered. So looking forward to hearing what he's got to say about that.
Well, down at the compound here this weekend, I tell you, my wife and one of my sons are going to spend, she's taking a week off, so because of Thanksgiving, but they're going to spend some time. Well, we have a what you call a deck. It runs 3/4 around our house, and we got a huge house. And the decking, we don't use the decking on one side of the house. And when I bought this house 20-some years ago, I had an appraiser come out and check everything and make sure everything was, not appraiser, but what do you call these? Home inspector. And he came out and he inspected it, and he said, oh, yes, your staircase and decking is just fantastic. It's all cedar. Because cedar doesn't rot. It takes a long time to rot. Well, like a year later, we started noticing it was rotted. So I had another home inspector come out and said, oh, no, that's just pine. And then I started checking in our state in Washington. They don't require you to do anything more than pay for the license to be a home inspector. Hint, hint. If you're getting your home inspected and you're looking for any defects in your house, okay, make sure you have somebody who's actually qualified, because you're sitting there getting a loan to buy your house, and you're going through and trying to find any problem when you're buying the house. If your home inspector doesn't do his job, you could be stuck with a lot of bills. And we had to rebuild at least half of our decking. A lot of work. We made the decision here a couple weeks ago. We're just going to remove part of the decking because we don't use it. I mean, 3/4 away around the house was crazy in the first place. So, because of my physical handicap, temporary one I have right now, I can't help them. But my wife and my one son are going to get out there with a couple saws and hammers, and they're going to remove some of this decking before it falls off the house, which is starting to do. So that's what we're going to be doing on, Thanksgiving.
Oh, sounds like a family project to me. Going to be out there putting them to work.
Yeah, they're going to, well, I'll hear about that almost as much as that mannequin deal with my wife, because I'm sure the first day she's going to be doing it, she's going to be so freaking sore. Because, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. You better believe it, especially if you're not used to doing that kind of stuff. You'll be using muscles you haven't used for a while, and that's where the pains comes in.
Oh, yeah. Since I've been working out, too, I notice, James, if I miss a day, I work out every day, not every other day. I work out my arm muscles, my, back muscles, my shoulder muscles every day. If I forget one day, I'll tell you what, about noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all of a sudden I start hurting.
That's where your muscles are rebuilding up what you broke down from working out.
Yeah, well, they're telling me if you don't exercise, it's going to start going back. And it doesn't take long because, back in the 80s, I was a trainer at a gym here, not too far from where I live. And I used to train people. I used to be really heavy in bodybuilding. And then one day after years of doing it, I just said to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. And you know what? Within 2 months, every bit of muscle I built up was virtually gone.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. I quit lifting weights for a while. It starts to go right. It starts to go right back to being flabby. Believe me, I can tell. I can tell it on myself. And then I'm like, I'm feeling lazy. But then I'm like, I really want to start lifting again. But you got to do something to stay healthy, So, and especially you're trying to keep, get better with your injuries and all. You got to do it. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be, for the next few days, being off the air for 2 days, I gutted out the studio again. I had a backup desk, and I started thinking, why do I need to have a backup guest? I got this huge 7-foot server case. It's air-conditioned. I'm going to put all the backup equipment into that, run some extra cabling, and have an extra, everything here. So I don't have to just switch from a desk to desk. I can just stay where I am and just flip a couple switches and I'm good to go. So that's what I'm doing. Plus, I'm putting more sound installation in here, studio installation because of my son's dogs being in the house occasionally. And, I'm also putting in Freddy Cougar. And I'm also putting in a Jeeper Creepers mannequin, a big, huge one. Scary things.
Oh, yeah. I seen something that looked like a Jeepers Creeper figure not too long ago. Last year, it was scary.
Yeah, this one's like 7.5 foot.
Yeah, this one was about 7 foot, but it was in spirit form, kind of, but shaped and face looked like him. Evil. It was evil looking.
Oh yeah, and you know what though? The problem is when I'm in here late, doing the show, at 10 o'clock, I start getting a little bit tired, and then I don't have all the lights on here because, I kind of like it dim lit when I'm doing the show. And then sometimes I'll be like a little bit tired and all of a sudden, I swear, this one creature with a sword moves, but that's just my imagination.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to forget they're there. Like I've been telling you, you're going to turn around and spook yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, guess what? It's time to take a break. We'll be back. Well, in about 9 minutes, James is going to be doing Earth News, so stay tuned. And again, check out our website, www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And when we come back after the news, Calvian Parker, Alien Abductee. Lots of stuff to talk about tonight on Night Dreams Talk Radio with me, Gary.
Your radio is a cosmic doorway and your psyche begins to spark. When you tune in to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams After Dark.